All right, we are live.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining the people who are here. My name is Chris Troutner, and this is the Permissionless Software Foundation Technical Steering Committee. It is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022 at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Let's go ahead and do a quick round of introductions before we jump into the agenda. As I said, I'm Chris Troutner. I'm the head janitor. Stoyan, why don't you kick us off?
My name is Stoyan Zhekov, and I'm helping with the maintenance of the JavaScript libraries. That's all from me.
Thanks. Go ahead, Aaron.
All right, my name's Aaron Shoemaker, and I work with NFTs and VR, and working on how I can integrate PSF software into that world.
Right on. David, why don't you give yourself a quick intro?
I am David R. Allen. I'm a big fan of and supporter of the Permissionless Software Foundation and the work being done by these fine gentlemen I am in the company of today.
Thanks. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So as always, our agendas are filed as GitHub issues. So you can find them after this recording at on github.com under the Permissionless Software Foundation group in a repository called TSC for Technical Steering Committee, and then click on this Issues tab, and we have a date for the meeting. So this is the agenda. These meetings are basically an opportunity for us to celebrate our technical achievements every couple weeks. We'll go through the agenda real quick, and then we'll open it up to a roundtable. I know Stoyan's got an update on the multi-sig minting. I'm looking forward to hearing. So let's go ahead and go through this agenda real quick. First of all, public service announcements. The SLPDB, the older indexer that tracks SLP tokens, is in its death throes. I can't seem to keep it up. It falls over about twice a day now, sometimes more, and it takes it time, like an hour or so, to catch back up and pick itself up. Mostly or exclusively, this is due to FlexUSD transactions on the blockchain. They're so complex that an SLPDB, even running with 32 gigabytes of memory, runs out of memory and has a hard time processing these transactions. So it's very much in its death throes. That means that the token liquidity app at psfoundation.cash is very sketchy. So if people are trying to cash in PSF tokens or purchase PSF tokens, just know that it might not go through if you happen to do it at a moment in time when SLPDB is struggling. So if this does happen to you, reach out to me via DM with Telegram. You need to do it within 24 hours if your exchange doesn't go through, because I'll need to verify it with the logs. So if you don't contact me within 24 hours, and you're not going to get a refund. So and you need to have a transaction ID that I can verify with the logs. So just generally avoid exchanging PSF tokens if you can. That's the main takeaway. But if you can't and something goes wrong, reach out to me. Also, reimbursements are going to be slow because they're coming from a multi-signature wallet. So I have to get multiple people. I don't have control over it. I have to get multiple people organized in order to issue a reimbursement.
I saw some of this stuff in the PSF SLP Telegram chat where you're the community's talking about FlexUSD, and you were talking about the airdrops that are causing it to be such a large coin.
Yeah, indirectly. The airdrops are an issue. It's more of a user experience issue, a UX issue, where they're dropping, like, I think it's every hour they drop an interest payment to holders of the coin, and so that makes wallet software really struggle because it introduces this huge computational load to process all those UTXOs.
Yeah.
And I've always told people to do like wallet.fullstack.cash does not support that UTXO model.
Yeah.
It just simply won't process your coins, and they'll look like they disappeared. So definitely do not use FlexUSD with wallet.fullstack.cash. I don't even know what wallet software can competently handle that token. I'm not aware of what, if there's some go-to wallet software that people use for that coin. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. And you found a solution for that, right? Or are you going to talk about that later?
Yeah. So the solution is the PSF SLP indexer, and I'll get into that in a minute here. But the thing that's actually making SLPDB like fall over and take time to pick itself back up is when someone ultimately goes to move their FlexUSD and spend it, it'll create a transaction with like hundreds of inputs. And so SLPDB's got to hold every input in memory and check the DAG and do all this computation, and it ultimately freezes and falls over. And so that's indirectly, that doesn't have anything to do directly with the token airdrops. It's sort of indirectly. It's when someone goes to actually spend those UTXOs.
So it has to do with the amount of transactions that have to be stored in memory at any given time, and when there's just an enormous amount of them, it's fallen over.
Right. And this is happening to every SLPDB in the world. So I think I'm only aware of one that's actually running on a system with more than 32 gigabytes. And I know that that's struggling as well, but I operate about 5 of them, and I'm watching them all struggle, and they all have 32 gigabytes of RAM on a dedicated machine. And that's still not enough.
Wow.
Yeah. So SLPDB is dying, which I'm going to talk about, move into this PSF Core Software. Before I get into the indexer, the cache stack how-to setup videos have been updated. So if you go to the psfoundation.cash, click on the menu, there's a video section. And that section has been updated, or it's in the process of being updated. I've been spending this last week on this DevOps and infrastructure section. There's walkthrough videos on how to set up the back end of the cache stack. So if this is on the blog, that this DevOps and infrastructure section is focusing on this global backend, showing how to set up the full node, the Fulcrum indexer, the SLP indexer. I'll be adding videos on how to set up BCH API and IPFS BCH service provider. So that'll be the full global backend. I'm hoping by the end of next week, I'll have like walkthrough videos. Each video is like 10 to 15 minutes long, and it shows you step by step on how to set up each piece of software.
That's great. I'm going to have to watch those.
And for those people who want to set up the new SLP indexer, I just added that video here at the end on how to set up you'll need to have a full node running before you can run that, because it depends on it. But that's a new video on how to set up and install the PSF SLP indexer. And in those videos, I introduce this the cache strap page at fullstack.cash/cache strap, and how to connect to our file servers using IPFS, and how to download these pre-synced databases. Both of the file servers have a fiber optic connection, so they're pretty fast, and you can download a pre-synced database for the new SLP indexer as well. So all that information is there.
Chris, so can all of this run on that Raspberry Pi?
Maybe. I wouldn't recommend it. In the videos, one of the first videos that I introduce here is this reference implementation,
Basic,
which is a $400 desktop, run it with 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive. So that's the intended hardware for the back end here.
So
and then go ahead.
So I was just going to say, for $400, you're basically going to be able to run this whole suite of software.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A $400 desktop can run all the software that we produce.
And there's no software purchases needed to be made.
Right. Just that's the one purchase. Everything else is free and open source.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for asking the question. Yeah. And so the future videos are going to be added to this beginner JavaScript, and I'm going to introduce the Pi 400. So for people who don't want to, which is a $100 Raspberry Pi computer in a keyboard format, that'll be able to run everything above this line, this IPFS network line, but which is referred to as the local backend and the front end software. And so that'll be the next series of videos, and then IPFS is used to connect those two. So
Hey,
well, I'll get into that more later.
we do have some stuff in the chat about SLP. Would you like me to read it now or cover it at the roundtable?
Yeah, go ahead for it.
Okay, we got Dream Trove says, is it possible to filter out or move SLP to a new chain, maybe eCache or XPI? Does another service cover this? And then they say frogs intend to still use SLP with a two-way bridge as long as SLP continues to function, as there are more e-commerce solutions for SLP.
Yeah. So for the first question, SLP can run on any blockchain. Someone just has to do the work. So that's what it comes down to. I am syncing the new PSF SLP indexer on the eCache chain right now. So because those two chains are so similar, pretty much all the software works across them. So yeah, I am syncing one on the eCache chain right now.
Right on.
Okay, so that's that. So the alpha release of the PSF SLP indexer is live. API and docs are available at psf-slp-indexer.fullstack.cash. So that's this URL here. So this is like, if you follow that video and set it up, this is the REST API that you would use to interact with it. And in particular, it's these 5 or 4 endpoints where you can get an address balance, you can get transaction, so an address balance, and this shows an example of what comes back: UTXOs, transactions, and balances associated with an address. There's a get transaction data, which returns like a hydrated JSON object with token info. So the inputs and the outputs have addresses and token quantities in there. And then there's an endpoint just to check on the status of the indexer to see if it's fully synced. And then there's an endpoint for token stats. So you can look up like how many tokens are in circulation, how many tokens have been burned, when was the token created, just details about the token. So that is up and live. People, it's free and it's set with a rate limit of 2 requests per second, but it's not going to stay up forever. This is just basically a demo, and it's still alpha software, so it's going to change rapidly. So for people who want to really just dive in and learn to work with this new indexer, everything's there, everything's ready to kick the tires and take it for a test drive.
Awesome.
I'm also like officially making this new indexer part of the core software. So it's not going to have a separate section anymore in the agenda. It's just going to be part of the core software section. So I've already started moving forward because SLPDB is basically dead. It's not so much that the new indexer is ready. It's that SLPDB is in its death throes. So we just can't afford to wait any longer. So I'm rapidly replacing the code in BCH API and Bchjs with calls to the new indexer. So I've got links to the API documentation here. So in BCH API, there is a PSF SLP section that shows how to interact with the new REST API endpoints on BCH API. And then at bchjs.fullstack.cash, there is this new what is it? PSF SLP class that incorporates those endpoints. And right now it's pulling from that demo site. So people don't need to run their own indexer. They can just use Bchjs to interact with it and get that new data. And everything. So actually Bchjs, I released version 5. So people who still want to interact with SLPDB and need the more reliable software, make sure you're using version 4 of Bchjs. Version 5 is undergoing rapid development right now, phasing out SLPDB and bringing in new endpoints for the PSF SLP indexer. And then finally, I don't know if I announced this last meeting, but PSF BCH wallet, our command line wallet, has these new message check, message read, and message send commands. So you use message send to send an end-to-end encrypted message to another Bitcoin Cash address, message check to check if you have any messages that have come in, and then message read to read a message to decrypt it and read it on the screen. So this is using our pay to write database to hold the encrypted messages when they're in transit. And so this is the new way we're doing it. I'm pretty excited about having this just basic end-to-end encrypted messaging in the same app as the ability to send tokens and money. So that's pretty exciting. So really, like, a lot of my focus, or all of our focus, me and Gary and Daniel, over the next few weeks, it's just going to be refining this, bringing in the new indexer, the new SLP indexer, and then just refining all this code to work with the new indexer and work with this new Web3 architecture, where that web wallet is going through the IPFS network to reach the backend software, and so IPFS is acting like a bus for that information.
See, this is exciting because I think this is the direction where wallets are headed, where you have your money, you're doing your messaging. I think eventually we're going to see media players as songs get put behind NFTs, and then your wallet can call the asset from the NFT to stream the music. Like,
yeah,
it's all coalescing into one thing, and just starting with the messaging is great. It's excellent.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is exactly going to be the progression. Is if once we've got encrypted messaging in place, then it's like, okay, well, when you buy an NFT, that will become the homing beacon for your wallet to go and be able to decrypt, like whatever that NFT unlocks. Like, we'll be able to, just with these two things, tokens and encrypted communication, like, we can build off of that, like, a whole range of use cases. Okay, so the pay to write database has been I just incremented the database name, so from 3 to 4, and so it's a new year. We have a new database. There wasn't any. I looked through all the data, and there wasn't really anything application critical at that point. So it seemed like a good time to just throw the old stuff away and start a new database. Normally we'd be a little more careful about that, going forward. But so we've got a new database for the new year. It's a clean break, and it's also using our IPFS private network. Everything's operating on a private version of IPFS. And so it was easier to just bring the data, to do new database rather than try and bring the data across from the old way of doing it on the public IPFS network and the new way of doing it on the private network. So this just something to be aware. If people are running the pay to write database locally, you should update it, do git pull, update the new code, and it'll automatically start using the new database.
So one of the errands I know is running that. So go ahead and update Aaron. We got like 18 errands in the PSF now.
Yeah, it's weird. It's starting to get weird. We have so many errands.
Yeah.
Okay, and then quick updates on the token decks. There are new examples for eCache in the Bchjs Examples repository. So it's again in GitHub under the Permissionless Software Foundation group. The repo is called Bchjs Examples. There's an eCache directory. And so we've just got some examples to create an eCache wallet, check the balance of the wallet, and send some eCache. I just added these because the two main changes that they've made are the redenomination and the address format. And so I just wanted to make sure all the Bchjs software still worked with directly with the full node. And it does. So the changes haven't really impacted the low level of the code. So this is, now that I've done this, I have a great deal of confidence moving forward with the eCache decks. There's not really any big changes we need to make in order to make the decks work on eCache.
Good. I was worried
yeah.
about that redenomination.
Yeah, I was too. I wasn't sure if it like actually was done at a very low level with the full node, or if it was really just like syntactical sugar. It turns out it's really just syntactical sugar. Yeah, and so Gary's working on the second part of the 3-part trade process, and Daniel will be shortly starting a user interface for browsing orders on the decks. So that'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
Very nice.
And that's the agenda. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. So those are the updates. Lots of major changes. Lots of code is in flux, mostly because of this new SLP indexer. It's definitely got some limitations and some bugs. It's going to be rocky, but yeah, I encourage people to ask questions on the Telegram channels and participate in just playing with it, giving feedback.
Awesome. Yeah. Please play away, people. I need to get through the videos and start playing myself when I get some time here.
So Stoyan, you said you had some updates on the multi-sig. Why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, okay. Can I share a screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. So can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I made pretty good progress. I'm very, very close, but not done. So as an example, when you run the code, so just to can you see this, or it's too small?
I can see it fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I created like incomplete transaction, and for the outputs, if you can see, it's already pretty properly multi-sig redeem script. And what we want to achieve is this redeem script, like everybody maybe know, the UTXO, like this script, it's just a fourth programming language, and this is the, how to see, reverse polish notation. So there's no brackets there. You just put something in the stack and get it from there. So the redeem script is just getting the tree something from the stack. After this, putting in the stack these 5 public keys. And after this, executing multi-check signature. So
okay.
what we want to put, this 3 stuff that we want to put are the 3 signatures. So I already creating pretty nice valid signatures. So I have also this part working, but so if I can show some code.
Yeah, please do.
It was pretty easy, and it does not depend from these strange functions from the SLP GS. So for example, in order to create the redeem script, it's just this one.
Code 3 pub keys. Okay.
So maybe
Nice.
a little bigger.
Yeah.
So you
better.
just get, how to see, you get an array with 5 public keys, send it to this function, multisig output, and this array, and it will encode it everything for you. And it will put it inside the transactions. If you see, it's here. So
Wow, that
the
is
redeem
handy.
script become, and the type is multisig. So next, in order to, oops, I don't need to this to be. Just a second, it's too big.
Sure.
So next, we need to sign the transactions. In usual code, you use this transaction builder sign, and you give it a key pair. And usually the redeem script is empty. But this thing does not work with the multisig. We need to put, instead of this, these 3 signature that we have, plus we need to put this thing there. So I researched the code for the transaction builder, and what is pretty much doing this guy, it's using this PSF library. So I have to see, recreated the sign. So just a second, I will show also this code. It's also pretty straight. So everything you need to do is just use this hash for cache signature. Very, very hidden function. And what you give it is just the input index. So the number 0 or something, something. You give him this redeem script, which was the array of the 5 public keys, and the amount, and what kind of signature algorithm you want. It's this ecliptic code.
Okay.
And after this, there's this sign, which is a function on the EC pair.
Okay.
And after this, yeah, some buffer, like magic to make it look more like, for example, it's putting, there's some, from the beginning of the Bitcoin, there was some error with the signature. So you need this op 0 in the beginning always. It's not needed, because it means put 0 numbers in the stack, which is pretty much no operation. But yeah, so the signature is created very correctly. So now the only missing part is how to put this ready signature data in the transaction scripts. So now I'm making still some mistake. If you can see, it's empty here. Even if I have this in the code, like so after you create these 3 signatures, it's just a matter of this one. There is a ready function for this. Just encode the signatures and put them in the input.
That encode function, there's a couple different ways to call it. I remember messing with the script class, because I don't know if this is the issue that you're running against, but it's just a tip. Like in the script class, like Bchjs has all those class libraries. There's a script class, yeah, and there's it's not in that multisig, but there's like an encode and an encode 2. And the original encode uses the minimum push data, which is some sort of BIP standard, but it screws up the.
This one?
It's No, because it's not. I don't think it's part of the multi-sig. It's in the actual script class.
In script class,
Yeah.
something like this encode stuff.
Yeah, I think there's like an encode, and then there's an encode 2. See right below it, there's an encode 2. So encode 2 is used when you're working with the op-return for SLP tokens, because that first encode will screw up the op return and make an invalid SLP transaction. And the difference is that encode follows the minimum push data standard and encode 2 does not. And I had to create that encode 2 so that I could do some low level SLP stuff. And so I'm just throwing that out there because I'm wondering if maybe something like that is happening here, which is why your stuff's not appearing in the actual transaction. There might be something like that going on.
It can be, but this is applied on the inputs. There's nothing about the SLP data there.
Yeah,
It's just the payment, like UTXO, which will pay for the transactions.
Yeah, I just noticed you're calling an encode function. So if you're getting it in an input, but you're not seeing it on the output, the problem might lie in that.
So maybe function. Instead of this one, I may maybe try with encode 2 and see if it will do something better.
You might have to port that encode 2 into that input thing, but yeah, it's worth a shot because that would explain, I think, what you're seeing.
Okay. So this is pretty much so all parts are ready. Just this how to attach the script to the input. When this is done, this will working. Can I maybe need to make it a little more pretty, like in utils or something? But yeah, it was pretty.
This is awesome research, Stoyan. Thank you for doing this deep dive because yeah, this is definitely very specialized knowledge.
So are you putting the multi-sig into the redeem strip before you put the transaction on? Is that what you were saying?
Just maybe, okay, it was a little high level stuff, so maybe for the other viewers too, we need to explain a little more. Do we have time?
Or... yeah.
So I will just go to the just to show what we want to do. So Bitcoin book, I think it was here, or it was in the BCH. Addresses.
So this is Andreas Antonopoulos' Mastering Bitcoin book, and it's been modified for Bitcoin Cash.
So,
definitely worth a read for anybody that wants to understand how this stuff works.
Okay, so maybe there will be here something visible so we can see.
Because I know the transaction gets hashed before the signature is added, and that is added to the to create the signature.
This is too complicated, so I will show maybe just a simple one, and it will be more easy to just show a simple transaction which is not multisig and the multisig, and we can compare what we need to do. Will it be okay like this?
Yeah.
So if you want to create a transaction, you need to specify the input for the transaction, the input UTXOs, and the output. So we're doing this with this transaction builder. So you need, for example, to like an inputs, you need to specify some input with money inside, some BCH inside, and like an output, it depends from what you want to do. But usually, for example, this is for the generating, for minting a token, you will need like SOP data to be the output 0, and you need to send some dust, just a small amount. And if you do this like in usual stuff, here for the output, you just put there the address which will receive this one, the output.
Mm-hmm. So this is a
And
normal
you need-
transaction.
Yeah, and for the in order to spend the funds, the inputs, you need to sign them.
Yep.
And in this case, you need a key pair. If you remembered our previous week conversation about the signing, you need private and public key. And so this is like usual code. You just sign with key pair, and for redeem script, you don't need anything. And same for the, so yeah, this is how you usually use the non-multi-sig transactions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to, so what is this doing? So the transactions is looking something like this one. Like you can see, this is the op return, the SOP data. And here you have just the simple like decryption or something. But when it's multi-sig, you need several guys' signatures, right?
Yeah.
So instead of this simple, where is my code? So when you put, when you sign, you just cannot have one key pair. You need 3 signatures, and you need to put this in some specific format. So this is the 1 signature, 2 signature, 3 signatures.
Mm.
Not just one public private key. And also you need to tell them how to use these 3 signatures to sign. So you tell him, okay.
So you're doing op0, 3 signatures, and then what's the rest of that information?
There's no other information.
Zero
and
at the top one. Okay, I was looking at
it's a little long. So it's this one, and this one, and this is the third one.
Oh,
and
okay.
After this will be concatenated with this one. So this is the 1, 2, 3, and op 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 public keys.
Okay, public keys, okay.
And you tell them this will be check multi-sig operation. So it will use all of this plus this to sign, to check the signature, in fact. It will check with these public keys and this signature, is this a valid transaction? So in case of the usual one, there will be just 1 private key, 1 public key here. This is. Does it make sense?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So yeah, you need to create a small script program, which you attach to UTXO, and it will run in order to sign this thing, to spend it. So it's like assembler language.
Yeah.
Attach it to every UTXO. It's not one smart contract. It's a little smart contract in every UTXO.
Right. Each input, yeah.
Okay. I hope it's a little complicated to explain it. I'm also still learning. So if you want more information, this Bitcoin book is a good start.
And let me switch back over for us here. Get back to the OBS window. Where you at? There we go. And for those who do want more, we do a podcast called Roots Up Crypto and Code, where Stoyan was on last week, and we were going over smart contracts, and we are going to do some more smart contracts tomorrow, but that will definitely be a subject that we cover in depth, and going into in-depth how Bitcoin transactions work, how the signatures work. I think that's a great idea for an episode. You can check that out on Shoemaker 360 on YouTube, or we do have a Telegram chat, so you can jump into that. We try to keep some of that stuff separate from all the PSF stuff that's going on, but with that, we go and we get our hands dirty with the code a lot more, and we're going to get you on there pretty soon here, Chris, to show some of this stuff.
Yeah. I've been watching some of the episodes. It's good stuff. Well, yeah, Stoyan, thank you so much for walking us through that. I'm because the op return for the SLP stuff is very similar, where you're taking like an op code and then some data and some data and some data, and you're pushing it onto the stack. Like I definitely check out that encode to function, because that could very well be, if it's like, it might not be the issue, but it's definitely smells like, it could be an issue to me.
Okay. Nice to know this. So we'll try this.
Yeah, but man, you're so close. I mean, like I
Yeah.
can, at a high level, I can see what you're doing. Everything makes sense to me. Yeah, it definitely feels like you're on the right track. Like we're just that one step away. It's going to be really exciting, because if we get multi-sig working, we've got multi-sig working on Avalanche, and once we launch these dexes, I want to simultaneously launch bridges, so that the PSF token can be used as a medium to move value across the different blockchains, and then you use the DEX on any one blockchain to move from the PSF to whatever it is you ultimately wanted to achieve. But to do that, I really want us to have multi-sig, so that there's a minting council that's in charge of, that's ultimately responsible for the number of tokens in circulation, and that shouldn't be under the control of some one person. So that's why this multi-sig is so critical to the future plans for the PSF. Oh, I can't hear you, Aaron.
Sorry, my daughter came down and was talking to me. See,
yeah.
I told you I need an on-air thing above the stairs. No, the multi-sig is great in so many different ways, and not only can it apply to business, but imagine the capability for like gaming, collective gaming type of stuff. You could utilize stuff for that. But yeah,
Multi-sig is, how to see, one of the first things if you want to have a DAO, decentralized organization, is multi-sig, because it's we was joking that this is just how to see, bunch of people using sharing like a wallet together.
Yeah.
So
a bunch of people you don't trust.
Yes, you don't
spending
trust
money
them.
together.
But for example, you want to buy together NFT, so you just use this multi-sig wallet. Everybody agrees. So, okay, we buy the NFT.
Yeah.
So every DAO, I think one of the first thing that they're doing is just a multi-sig wallet.
No, it makes sense, and having the ability to do that on BCH and eCash as well as Avalanche gives DAOs a lot of versatility, which we really need right now.
Yeah, exactly. We can't. What is it? You can't eliminate the risk, but you can decentralize it. You can spread it out among many people.
Dream Trove says, would be nice to have the various SLP tech that's been built, like the WooCommerce, Spice Button, SLP.Cocktail Cash, Shuffle for SLP. He's been very active in the chat. Thank you for being active. And I put the link to the Mastering Bitcoin Cash book in the chat and in the Telegram. So yeah, it would be great to have some of that stuff and look into some of that stuff. It says NFT as access key to audience for encrypted content is definitely the future versus ownership of one-off content. You should definitely check out Stoyan's GitHub because he did that for Stoyan. You just did that for a what are they called? A dev challenge
Yeah.
with Ethereum.
Just tell him to come tomorrow. We will
Yeah.
talk on the your podcast exactly about this.
Yeah, if you check out, I saw you join the Roots Up Telegram, so just we will be on 10 a.m. Central Time, and Stoyan will talk all about that sort of stuff. Cool.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to cover today before we call it a wrap?
I just have to say thank you again. I mean, without the smart people in this room, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Oh,
It's all good.
you
it's all
flatter
good.
us, David. You flatter
It's
us.
true. It's also true. So thank you, Stoyan and Aaron and Chris.
We're working hard, and yeah, check out the Roots Up live stream tomorrow, where we're gonna get deep into the code, and hopefully Chris will get you on. I know you're really busy with getting this SLP stuff stood up, so when you feel like you're freed up, let's get you on for an episode.
Yeah, sounds good. That sounds real good.
If you have a little, like several minutes, I wanted just to show one link about our previous conversation. Maybe it will be interesting.
Yeah.
For
Chris,
sure. And maybe for you. I'm not sure. So I found it yesterday. This LEET protocol. So I'm still researching it, but this stuff is interesting. It's about the encrypting content like NFT and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me find some. This maybe LEET protocol. Okay, I will share the GitHub so everybody can search for their own. Where to put this thing? In the chat?
Yeah, just drop in the Telegram.
Yeah.
I am on another computer, so I will.
Okay.
Put it
Yeah,
in
you can do it later.
If you put in the chat, Stoyan, I'll drop it in Telegram.
So
right
this, if you can see, open source decentralized utility for encryption. So putting encrypted data in ceramic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can like have encrypted NFTs that we was talking before. You can encrypt the real content, and only the people who purchase this NFT can see, for example.
Yeah, we were we were talking about that last week.
Yeah. So for context, for ceramic is very, very similar to our pay to write database. The tech's very, very similar, except ceramic's free, and the pay to write database you pay to write to it. So them using encryption, so we could do the same thing. We could very easily, just like that end-to-end encrypted messaging we just added to the Cly wallet, we could just encrypt a message and put it on ceramic instead of putting it on the pay to write database. So I mean, really the difference between what they're doing and what we're doing probably just comes down to, the encryption algorithm and what sort of blockchain they prefer, which is probably Ethereum.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just found it, so I will research more, but it just sounded interesting. If you, let's see, read a little, it was exactly the stuff that we was talking about, like encrypting content, allowing only the purchaser to get the real version. Well, so interesting. You see, they raised a lot of money. They raised 2.2 millions to use NFT.
It is. I mean, it is really close, and I'll drop the couple white papers I wrote in the Roots Up Telegram chat for anybody that wants to see that in the PSF social. On one of them is an overview, and one of them gets more into the mathematics on how it can happen. And love to. I know I send them to you as well, Stoyan, and I mean it. With the message signature hash, Chris, you have, it is extremely close to being able to. We just need an application that lives on the IPFS side that's able to
Mhm.
check transactions and verify signatures. And then
Yeah.
so. But
I
one thing at a
anticipate a
time.
lot of synergy. Like, I'm glad you guys are looking at ceramic. I'm definitely keeping a very close eye on ceramic because, I keep coming back to Orbis. The guy I'm gonna like I'm in this love-hate relationship with Orbis right now. So for people who don't know what I'm talking about, Orbis is a Twitter clone. It uses the ceramic. All the data goes over the IPFS ceramic network that would normally be coming from the Twitter servers. And the problem with Orbis is that it's not open source. So if it was open source, we could all spin up our own local user interface and have access to the same data. We wouldn't be dependent on going to orbis.com. If you made that one change, I think that would be a huge. And so what I'm envisioning in the future is, one of my big goals that I'd like us to achieve as an organization is to build a permissionless, decentralized clone of Craigslist. And so
Yes.
where ceramic excels is this decentralized mutable data, so data that can change over time, which is perfect for like this sort of social media application like the Twitter clone. And like Craigslist could very easily, like, so that would translate to the Craigslist to the actual ads. That way the person who created the ad is the only person who can edit it, and they can update it, and it can all be done in real time. And anybody can run their own local ceramic node that would just like grab that data and have it there locally, which would prevent censorship. But then I think where we would add to it, and with all this DEX technology that we're building, is that like you could tokenize goods on this Craigslist and then exchange them. And that use case is a little bit different in that that's where I think the pay to write database excels, because we need that that Sybil resistance. We don't want to, if we make the content being free is great, but it also means that it's an attack vector.
Yeah.
And so by adding that pay to write element, that's our Sybil resistance. And so that lets us keep the data manageable and removes that attack vector. And so it's not an either or, it's an and both. Like we're going to be able to leverage this ceramic tech. I'm glad that they have all this money and all these engineers, and they're working on that really important use case. And I think that our more limited, restricted use case is going to complement very well in those situations where you need that extra Sybil resistance, where just attribution is not enough. Like what they have is attribution, where everything uses keys. So like you can't write to my stream, only I can write to my stream because I have the private key. That's important, but it's not the same thing as Sybil resistance.
Well, you ran into that with the original SLP database back with bitcoin.com, right? Where people could make calls to that database, and you started getting lots and lots and lots of calls. That
was more of a, that had to do with rate limits. That was just too much demand on it was a big bottleneck, and that's largely that problem. We're solving that by using this Web3 architecture where we have the IPFS as a bus, and so people can just find one of several backends to use. And so that mitigates that particular rate limiting issue. But
having a cost to write is just going to keep people from being able to come and spam, and it creates a barrier to entry, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Because what we need is a rendezvous point. That's what the blockchain fundamentally provides that other solutions don't provide. Is like, I don't know you and I don't trust you, but I can drop some data over here on the blockchain, and you can access that data, and we can use that blockchain as a way to organize a trade.
Yeah. I see farmers markets really taking on this tech once it gets to a stable place. Like, just makes a lot of sense. You tokenize your goods, you can pre-sell those goods, and then people can come and redeem the tokens and just pick up their goods that day.
Yeah, so it's really that rendezvous point. That's the value that I think like the pay to write database provides that the ceramic solution does not provide. but where the ceramic solution excels is more data, like large quantities of changeable data that are secure in the sense that they're attributable. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of room for synergy in the future. I'm following the ceramic tech very closely, and I'm hoping that once we get things a little more refined, like, yeah, ultimately blending something with ceramic like Orbis with our ability to do money and tokens and token exchanges, very efficiently and scalable in a scalable way, we can make those two ideas together.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Previous week,
Oh, go ahead, Soyan.
previous week they also had encrypted messages, Orbis guys.
Oh, did they? Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
So everybody is going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. The more the better, and the more heads in this, the better the outcome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I'm excited for what's happening with the SLP indexer. I like the SLP protocol. It is very easy to use, and I think that it's going to be a lower barrier of entry to, businesses than, say, something like smart contracts on Ethereum. And being able to help and develop that for businesses like farmers markets, like farmers in general, this is going to be a great way for people to start to move into this new system of finance and commerce and trade.
Yeah, and so, like, to bring this back around to those videos, in that $400 desktop, I'm really looking at that as like, that's the appliance, and that's, as a community, as the PSF community, that's what I want us to come together to refine the software that lives on that appliance, so that, like, you, Aaron, and your geographic location can set one up to support your local farmers market.
Yep.
And I can set one up to support my local island community. And anybody can, like, the software lives on that. It really only takes one person to understand how it all works in order to support, tens or hundreds of other people who can then use that infrastructure to set up a community currency and do whatever that community needs to do.
And this could be a good business opportunity for people to actually make rack mountable cases with this stuff. Like, take a rack mountable case and build a computer that runs this. Because if I'm going to sell it to a business, I'd love to be able to just put it in a rack in their back room, and they don't touch it, or their tech touches it, anything that can be just racked up like that. Really easy to ship, really easy to put in places, could be an excellent business case for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have one more comment down here. Of course, Crazy Money said, Viva PSF. Thank you, Crazy Money. Dream Trove says, definitely any marketplace dApps. He loves that. If you can make permissionless paper, you can even bring it to the Amish. Oh, all right.
All right. Well, it's been about an hour. It's probably a good time to wrap this up.
All right. Go ahead and hit the outro here.
Right on. Thanks for attending, you guys.
Thank you, guys.